My apartment started skipping time in small pieces. Now I'm finding things that haven't happened yet. Part 1. I didn't notice the first time it happened because it was too small to question, just a moment where I thought I had lost focus or zoned out. But over the past few nights, I've started realizing that certain things in my apartment are happening slightly out of order, like I'm stepping into moments that haven't fully happened yet. The first clear example was with my kitchen light, which I remember turning off before going to bed. But when I walked past the room later that night, it was already off before I reached the switch, even though I distinctly remembered planning to turn it off but not actually doing it yet. At first I blamed it on memory, assuming I had just forgotten the action, but then it happened again in a way I couldn't ignore. Because I watched my phone light up with a notification a full second before it actually buzzed in my hand. Like the visual came before the cause. I started paying closer attention after that, deliberately testing small actions to see if I could catch the pattern. And what I found was that anything I was about to do would sometimes appear as if it had already happened, but only for a brief moment before correcting itself. It wasn't consistent enough to predict, but it happened often enough to notice, especially in reflections and peripheral details, where I would see myself completing a movement before I actually felt myself do it, like the result was arriving before the action. One night I stood in my hallway and raised my hand slowly, watching the reflection in a picture frame, and for a split second, the reflection reached the top of the motion before my arm did, then snapped back into sync like nothing had been wrong. That moment was enough to make me stop experimenting because it didn't feel like a delay or a glitch anymore. It felt like I was seeing the outcome of my actions before I fully committed to them, like something in the environment was running slightly ahead of me. The worst part was that it didn't feel random because the more I noticed it, the more it seemed to happen in ways that guided my behavior instead of just reflecting it, like I was following something instead of leading it. I tried to ignore it and go about my night normally, but that became harder when I started noticing objects shifting into positions I hadn't moved them into yet, like my keys appearing on the table seconds before I placed them there. At one point, I stopped in the middle of my room and decided not to move at all just to see if anything would happen without my input, and for a few seconds everything stayed still until I noticed something that made it impossible to dismiss. On the edge of my desk there was a glass that hadn't been there a second ago, and before I could react, I watched my own hand reach forward and place it down exactly where I was already seeing it. That's when I realized the sequence wasn't just off by a moment, it was showing me what I was about to do before I had decided to do it. And the more I noticed it, the more it felt like my actions weren't entirely my own anymore. I tried to step away from the desk to break the pattern, but as I turned, I caught a glimpse of the hallway, and for a brief second, I saw myself already standing there, facing back toward the room before I had taken a single step. I froze in place, and when the moment corrected itself, the hallway was empty again, but the image stayed in my head long enough to make me hesitate before moving forward. That hesitation didn't last long because a second later, I felt myself step into the hallway exactly the way I had just seen, like the action had already been set in motion before I chose it. I don't know how long this has been happening, but tonight it got worse, because the shifts aren't just seconds ahead anymore, they're getting longer. And I just saw something in my apartment that hasn't happened yet. Follow for part 2.